In this fast-paced world of upwardly mobile musicians, sometimes it's not even practical to take our full bass rig with us to recording, writing or studio sessions. Laney, promising to not be left behind and certainly staying in front of the curve, are very proud and excited to announce a fantastic new software plugin, the Laney Bass Suite. We're going to take a look at it in detail today and listen to some of the sounds that it can produce, including the sounds of the DB500 stack. For those who are already using plugins either in their digital audio workstation or as a standalone audio application, the great thing about the DIGBETH Bass Suite is it's kind of familiar. We are finding things where we sort of expect them to be. But for those who haven't had a chance to look at software plugins of this nature before, don't worry, it's not at all daunting, and I'm going to step through some of the windows available so you can see how easy it is to really lock in some fantastic tones. When we open up the plugin for the first time, we are greeted with a very tidy and neat layout with headings for each of our settings, and at the bottom of the screen we can see the signal path from our instrument out to our recording device. We are greeted by the Laney DB500 head amp simulation in the middle of the screen, and doesn't it look fantastic? The controls are exactly the same as the real thing, as is the sound. And you can see that the amplifier block is highlighted already. Preceding that, we have a block where we can choose 4 Laney effects pedals, namely, on the left-hand side here, an octave pedal, the Custard Factory is a compressor, and then we have 2 types of distortion, the Blackheath and the Gamma Burst. We'll listen to those later. Coming past our amplifier sim, we also have 3 Laney speaker cabinets, the one on the left and the one on the right, the 4x10 and 2x12, but we also have a simulation of the 8x10 cabinet version 2. With each of these selections, we can also choose a vibe to brighten up the sound or make it darker, as well as the option of choosing what type of microphone has been used to create this cabinet and microphone simulation combination. If that's not enough for you, we can even load our own custom IR as well. So should you have a great cabinet sound that you want to use with the onboard amplifier, you can load it in this menu. No studio setup would be without a full rack setup, including some pretty well-known compressors. So we have 2 compressors, a sonic maximizer, and an equalizer, which we can add into our chain as well. The last block in the chain offers us a global equalizer, as well as an output limiter to capture those final transients and add extra punch to our sound. Adjusting levels into the DIGBETH Bass Suite, we have an input level control on the bottom left-hand side and an output level control on the right-hand side. The whole window is completely resizable and the graphics don't get blurry when you zoom in. Now things get really interesting in DIGBETH Bass Suite when we click on the first block. At first sight, in the bottom left-hand side here, we have a high pass filter. So as our signal comes into the plugin, we can sculpt the low end to remove any annoying or uncontrollable low sub frequencies, which can help to clean up our bass sound and add punch. The high pass filter has a slope adjustment, and on the far right hand side of the screen, you'll notice that there's also a high cut, which is a low pass filter. So should we want to sculpt the top end as well, maybe for a more vintage vibe, we can take the top end edge off, and similarly there is also a slope control there. The frequencies are adjustable, and you can see on the user interface the graph moves to let us know exactly where the changes are taking place. And that's the same for the high cut as well. Now, as a bassist, I am a massive fan of dual signal paths. Some of my favourite bassists historically have ran their basses into a bass amp and a guitar amp at the same time, and derived distortion sounds from the guitar amp whilst taking the low end punch from the bass amp and then blending the two together. The great thing about the DIGBETH Bass Suite is we can do that as well in the software. And we can do that with the onboard crossover. Currently, in this demonstration, it has been disengaged, and there are 3 different types of crossover available. And when I engage it, you'll immediately notice that we have a dual signal path appear at the bottom of the screen. And I can change the frequency where the split of low frequencies and high frequencies happen. You can see that in the user interface window, my bass signal has now been split into 2 portions, the lower frequency portion and the upper frequency portion, split by the crossover line in the middle. The upper frequency portion is being sent through the upper signal path in the diagram at the bottom of the screen, and not surprisingly, the lower portion through the lower loop, and they are blended together at the output. If I wanted to listen to each portion alone, there is a solo button available, and then the signal is blended together before heading off to our output. Now, a fun and rather creative aspect of this plugin is that yes, we can rearrange the order of our effects and amplifier. But we can also do a few things that we can't do in real life. For example, putting the speaker cabinet before the amplifier. And for our creative needs, we might be able to create some really interesting tones and textures by trying some of these things out. On the bottom signal path, we can see that we've got a speaker cabinet selected. And we can set up our post effects, along with some additional effects, such as this mammoth lower end processing and an additional compressor with sidechain effect as well. Again, we can move these effects wherever we want. Being able to save our settings is very, very important, and top center of the screen is a presets menu. There are a number of great sounding factory presets on board that you can tweak or create your own sounds from scratch and save them with your own meaningful names. No bass setup should be without a decent tuner, and the DIGBETH Bass Suite has a really accurate one on board. For those who are traveling light and touring with a digital setup, MIDI control is a must. Either your digital audio workstation is triggering changes in the software, or you have a MIDI controller out on the front of the stage with you. The DIGBETH Bass Suite also has MIDI control available as well. Okay, so in the opening track, I dialed in a sound that I thought would be fitting for the actual piece of music, but also demonstrates some of the colour available from the Bass Suite and the DIGBETH amplifier. Here's some more sound settings that I've dialed up so you can hear some of the tones available from the suite.